This is a Golden Age comic book, Web of Mystery. It's another one of those comics, Golden Age ones, where the cover has nothing to do with the interior story. Somebody wrote their name on here, Merle on the woman's face. It's an arrival date. The other ink. This is number 15, 1952. Draw the first day. Famine of Chichen Itza. This story here, there's some kind of American scientist guy who goes to Yucatan, and he's at the site of this Mayan ruins. They're having a problem growing grains here. He's trying to help them out. And then here he sees the ruins of some Mayan goddess. Then he meets this girl. She gives him some stuff to drink. And then she turns into the goddess in front of his eyes. And she starts telling him some story about the reason for the famine is because of some kind of creature that they need him to kill. Like he went back in time. And he's seeing the Mayan king here. They say he's the only one that can slay the monster, so they give him some kind of magical spear. So he's going out to try to kill this monster. It doesn't work. He pulls out a gun and starts shooting at it here in a minute. It still doesn't kill it. But then he wakes up and he's back in the current present time, so he doesn't know whether it was all a dream or what. He's doing research here, trying to figure out how to get the grain to grow. He goes to some cafe to get a drink. When he drinks the drink, the waitress turns into that goddess, Mayan goddess again. And he's back at the temple ruins. Well, he's back in time where it's not ruins anymore. And she reveals that the king was hiding grain here. The story about having to kill the monster was pure bullshit. But so they figure out he was a bad guy, so they're coming to. They tell all the people that they're gonna sacrifice. That the queen, the goddess, volunteered to sacrifice. They tie her up. They lock this guy up, but he escapes here. He's coming. He tells the people what's going on. They start believing him. Grabs his gun, starts shooting a few of the Mayans. He dives in after the girl. Can't find her. Then he wakes up in the present time again with his colleague here. And he tells him knock the wall down, and the grain is inside the wall. It's still good. From the dream, it's actually there. That's the end of the story. Kind of corny, but oh well. Okay, that dreadful night. The story here, this guy's a bum, a hobo. He's afraid of the dark and night. They kick him off the train here. He's going to be wandering through the woods. I don't know why he just didn't follow the railroad tracks. But that's the story for you. So he finds his house in the woods. Starts knocking on the door. This guy opens the door. He tells him something about the night of the dark of the moon. Beware of there's awful creatures of the evil out there. He can't let nobody in because he's contaminated or something. Then there's another scene out in the woods. There's a bunch of witches and all these creatures out in the woods watching. They're selecting a queen of the witches. And they say that they got all this treasure here. They need to buy a mortal soul to pay their master Satan. So sure enough, this guy that got kicked off the train comes along to the old house. So they offer him some food here. He's eating the food. There's a little creature up there watching him. And the witch knows this is the guy that's going to be the perfect victim because he's so greedy. She grabs some gold. He sees the gold. He picks up this thing here. Knocks her over the head. And the blood is soaked. The gold is soaked with blood. And then his hands are also going to be soaked with blood. So he's looking at his hands here. There's the witches. They're saying here that they see the farmers are coming to kill them, so they have to put a curse on the farmers to kill all the livestock and their crops. And this farmer here tells them about it. They're going to go kill the witches. And this guy that got the curse, he tries to wash the blood off his hands, but it won't come off here. He falls asleep out in the woods. And they're telling him about how they're going to kill him on the next dark of the moon night. So he thinks it's a dream. He throws the gold away, thinking he can get rid of the curse. Then on another night here, he gets thrown off the train at the same spot. And the witches find him. It's that dark night of the moon that they're warning him about. So they grab him. They're about to sacrifice him for Satan. They got him tied up. They're about to kill him, sacrifice him. Then the townspeople show up, the farmers. They start a fire. All these creatures and the witches are running, trying to get away. They wind up getting burned alive. Then this guy that's scared of the dark, he goes blind because of the fire, so he has to be in eternal darkness the rest of his life. That's the end of that story. Then the next story here, this looks like a devil, but it's actually a vampire. These soldiers in Germany are driving this Jeep, and they see this creature in the middle of the road. So they swerve to miss it, and they fall off the side of a cliff. The guy wakes up from the Jeep, and he sees a vampire sucking on his friend's neck. It's a female vampire. And she starts coming after him. He throws a rock at her here. And then she jumps at him. They're both kind of fighting the vampire off, and for some reason the vampire flies away instead of finishing him off. Then they find one of their friends, his throat has holes in it, like he's been drained of blood. And the other guy, he's wakes up like he's all groggy. And he's talking about he saw something coming after him. He feels like he's weak, drained of his strength. Then he announces that he's a vampire now. He wants blood. Blood. So they have to knock their friend out here who became the vampire. And they're wondering what they're going to do next. This old man comes around in a cart. Says he's from the castle. He can help them out by taking them to the castle. So for some reason they don't figure it out. Kind of common sense. Vampires live in castles. And they get there. Her servants are all creepy looking ghost people, but it doesn't seem to bother them. And she's just telling them, well, make yourselves comfortable, spend the night. The vampire lady here. One of their friends died, and the other one, in the middle of the night, this guy wakes up. He decides to question that lady further about whether she knows about vampires. And she checks him out, starts making out with him, and she's about to bite him here. The other guy wakes up with his gun, finds his friend dead. He's running around the castle. He runs into the vampire lady feeding the other guy to the ghouls. He starts shooting her servants. They're mortal. I guess they can die. Here's the vampire lady. He shoots some more of the ghouls, and she charges at him. He stabs her with a spear, kills her. And he finds his other friend drained of blood here. Then he wakes up in a hospital, and the army doctors are talking about, we found him in a hospital. He's telling us a crazy story about vampires, but they never found any of his friends' bodies. That's the end of that story. In True Tales of Unexplained Mystery, this is some story about some guys looking for Kublai Khan's treasure. They see this big horn. They find the treasure in a cave. Then they hear somebody blowing a horn. And it was Kublai Khan's ghost that blew a big horn and crashed all this mountains down on top of him. That's the end of that story. Curse of the Yogi is a short little story. They claim it's a true story. I doubt it. Mirror of Mephisto. This guy here, he's looking for his relatives called the Malverns. His great uncle died or something, and he's looking for the money. He starts looking at through all these antiques that people that belonged to his uncle. He finds this strange writing. Backwards it spells devil. Then the devil appears in this mirror, and the devil invites him in. And his uncle here is stuck in here with Satan. He made some kind of deal with him to get the special mirror formula or something like that. So he has to stay in here with Satan for the rest of eternity, living his life over and over again, and hiding his treasure. And Satan tries to keep the other guy, but Satan gets reminded that the deal, if somebody's invited in by Satan, then they can leave the mirror again. So this guy leaves the mirror. So he has some of those special mirrors made up that can capture people here. And the guy who made the mirror chokes to death from the formula. And he buys the mirrors. This is kind of a convoluted story. And the guy owns a carnival, so he sets up all these mirrors and invites his relatives, all of his living relatives over. And they see Satan in the other mirror, and then they run into the other mirrors because they get scared and they get trapped into the mirrors. The reason he's doing this is because he wants to be the sole inheritor of the fortune of his family. So every time one of his relatives comes over, they get scared by Satan and get trapped into one of the special mirrors he made. Let's see. Then this one guy shows up. His name is Leighton. His stepfather was a member of this clan. So for some reason, he can't see Satan's image because he's not really a blood relative. But he can see the family members, his family members, so he starts pulling them all out of the mirrors. Then the other guy gets scared because the relatives find out about him. He's running away and accidentally falls into the mirror with Satan. Then he's stuck in there with his uncle and Satan. And all the other relatives find the map with all the treasure. So they get all the treasure. He gets stuck in the mirror with Satan. And they made these little mirrors out of the big mirrors in the warehouse, in the mirror house. So that they supposedly there's mirrors all over the country with, if you look at them, you can see this guy's face. Kind of a corny little story. Then this little story is about a woman who was going to be hanged. She hung herself in her jail cell. Then everybody that was in this jail cell supposedly was made to hang themselves by the ghost of this dead lady in England in a prison. Supposed to be a true story. Probably bullshit, but ugly blackheads. Anyway, another rock garden grows in 4 days. That's the end of that issue. It's a nice cover, though. The cover has absolutely nothing to do with the inside of the book, though. That's it.